This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
Welcome to The Anxious Voyage. If you think that title sounds bleak or foreboding, one of two things must be true. You're very lucky, or you need to get out more. On this program, we share stories of life and living. We compare notes. We discover commonalities. We accept that life is a glorious, heartbreaking thing, and we embrace and celebrate all of it. Take the ride with us. We're glad you're here. Now, here's your host, Mark O'Brien.
Hello and welcome indeed. We are coming to you again and as always from world headquarters in the tropical paradise of Middletown, Connecticut. For those of you who have not yet met my wife, Anne, in her earlier two appearances on the show, she is here with me today. Thank you very much, Anne. And I'm glad you're here.
Well, thank you for having me again.
I was going to start with a comment that somebody left for me on LinkedIn when I announced this episode there, but I changed my mind.
Oh.
What I would like to do is to talk about the session on RoundTable 360 that you were invited to host a couple of weeks ago. I thought that was a very good show. I'm absolutely certain that everybody else enjoyed it too. What inspired you to want to do that show? Which I will explain. Combined art and space, and I think the subtitle of the program was something like, do you play nice with your space, or something like that, right?
Yes. So first, RoundTable 360 is a collaborative group with writers, actors, artists. There's a psychologist. So it's a pretty creative group. It's a group that is always looking for continual improvement. And I was asked by the host of the show and the moderator if I wanted to do something about art and space. And what we mean by space is, maybe a better word is environment. So what I'd like to explain is, I think it's post-COVID. People are working and living a little differently than they did prior to that. Meaning whether it be their dwelling or their workspace or their office space, things are different now, meaning you may work from home, you may work from an office, you may be required to do other things. And also, our homes really have so much more that they could give us. And I think that people with that isolation are now looking for enrichment. So I'll go back to this group, and they have to produce good work, meaning if they're writing or they're acting, your space really creates that environment by which you can express yourself. So I'll use a few examples because we've got a different audience here today. We've probably got people that work, that are holistic, that are in many, many different fields. So, okay, so let's imagine ourselves getting in an elevator and it's stuffed with people, okay? Most people are not going to feel comfortable in that. They're going to feel kind of anxious. They can't wait to get out, or they go into an auditorium and they find out they're the only ones there. And so now, you've got this vast amount of space and there's nothing there. I'll use two public places. So let's say you go into a restaurant and there's soft music playing and you could smell the aroma of the food and the tables are set nicely. You can't wait to sit down. So I could even use a gym, for instance. If a gym didn't have equipment, you wouldn't feel like working out. Right? You just go there and you say, okay, now what am I supposed to be doing here? So, and everybody's different. So, what makes them feel comfortable or makes them feel happy or makes them feel creative are the things, the colors, the amount of space, um, all their sometimes it's sentimental belongings. We even had someone in that group that they couldn't be at home. So they'd actually rent a hotel room with absolutely no distraction whatsoever. So that's really what art and the space we're trying to project. We're trying to see what makes people comfortable so that they can go back to wherever they are and make it a more comfortable environment. Therefore, they could be more creative and their production could be more rewarding.
I actually made some notes. I'm gonna get to them in a second.
Okay.
I've never thought about, before you just said what you just said, I'd never thought about what I'm about to say. And that is, I'd never imagined environment and creativity as chicken and egg. What do you think comes first?
Oh, I don't know. I think it is a chicken and the egg because without the right space, you're not going to be creative. Or if it's not in the right environment, you may not be productive. And if you don't allow your creativity to come out, then how do you know what you want? And I'll even, we can take this even into an office standpoint. So, there was a time, and I've done office, businesses with lots of offices. And of course, what do they want? They want cubbies where people can be corralled into a box. And then lo and behold, you can decorate your little box.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. And, that's your cute box surrounded by different things that you like or you bring into the office to put your signature on it to make it yours. And I think that might have worked before, but there's an element, I go back to saying post-COVID, where people want more than that. They need more than that. And they need to thrive in better conditions.
Oh boy, this is going to be a real stretch, so bear with me.
Okay.
But when you were talking about cubbies, cubicles,
Yes.
I was thinking about people, and the more I think about it, the more I think they're correct, that contend that we still work largely the way we did in the early to mid 20th century.
Okay.
And then the other thing, and this was the real stretch that occurred to me, was that consciousness and I guess I might say psychology are evolving. And the very last literature course I ever took was called Origins of the Self.
Mm-hmm.
And the gentleman who taught the course contended that before the French Revolution, people were unable to distinguish themselves, to separate themselves bodily from the monarchy. They were simply elements of the kingdom. So again, while you were just talking, I was wondering if there isn't some of that going on as consciousness is evolving. If because we're having better senses of ourselves, we demand more from our environments.
I agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. And I do, because even if you take big business, you'll see that to attract, so let's use it the business standpoint or the corporate standpoint, to attract good employees, to keep good employees, to make or invite, I'll use the word invite, I don't like the word make, employees into the culture. They've had to make some changes through human resources, through their hiring practices, their benefits practices, to offer, and again, staying home, hybrid working, people that are parents and have children, so they have more of a balance. You've heard the word of balance of life. All of those things from the employer standpoint go into play. And then the employee now says, I've got limited amount of time, or, I've got to be productive. And, I mean, we've in our own family have had people during COVID working on a dining room table or working in the vestibule on a teeny weeny desk, because guess what? Their spouse was home, the kids were home, and they couldn't. But how happy or how productive or how creative can one be working in the vestibule or working on the dining room table? So that's to get back, or to roundtable back to the roundtable. And that's what we did. What do you need or want to feel creative? Some people like it small. They like to feel enclosed or comfortable. Some people need big open space, or they need, we talked about lighting. So I'm probably jumping ahead, but there are many aspects that go into that space that help you to help yourself. So for instance, lighting. Some people don't like a lot of lighting. They like it sort of dimly lit. They could see their laptop better. Some people like to be in nature, or like a biophilic type of feeling where they're in plants and natural light. And to prove my point, from a design standpoint, and what we did on Roundtable is we went through the different genres of designing in different countries that put a different label on it. So for instance, in Asian, it was feng shui. There has to be a balance of energy, and there's colors and elements such as wood or water or metal that go into certain areas of the room so that your energy does flow and feel better. And then you can go to Germany and have, what they call the Bauhaus element, which is very primitive and elemental, still natural, but using more raw materials and being so understated that the people within the room become the grand show, and all these things just support the energy of that person. Maybe more familiar would be the California Casual or Farmhouse, or the Swedish is Huga. I never pronounce it correctly, but that's warm and comfortable. And so again, I go back to finding out who you are and what makes you feel the best that you can feel in a particular environment.
Yet again, you're making me think of something I never thought of before. I used to have a client who, in conversation, would position everything that you might take as a disaster as an opportunity. And I said to him once, "You're the only person I know who, if somebody rolled a grenade under my chair, you would say, 'Mark, you have the opportunity to leave the room.'" So I think people, especially post-COVID, people, and I think what I really mean is employers, have struggled with how to connect with their people, especially if people are no longer required to come to an office, or are, let's just say, they have a hybrid work schedule. But it seems to me that if consciousness is truly evolving, then employers have an opportunity to connect with their people in different ways. But I think it works both ways, because I think people have an opportunity to connect with their employment circumstances in different ways, and to connect that to environment. If they can be in environments that are more conducive to the ways in which they would choose to work, isn't that better?
I would say yes. And I do agree that it's evolving. And I'll give you one example, just one very, very simple example is, and I'm going to say this has been out for about 10 or 15 years. And at first, when it came out, people are like, what is this? But they came up with stand-up, sit-down desks. The thought was that people sit too much. Some people don't like working sitting. So that was a very elementary starting point, to allow people to stand or sit or tilt their desks accordingly. And albeit it worked for a while, I mean, it really, it isn't or wasn't enough. And it did bring a little bit of consciousness in it. I think that corporations or businesses struggle because when you are at home and you're not supervised, it depends on the employer as to how trusted or how they measure productivity and creativity. So I think that becomes a level of measurement. How do they accurately measure it? Is it by output of what the employee produces? Is it required check-in times? And again, I think we're going to see this move forward. But it's going to go somewhere. Where that is, I don't know. It is dependent on the culture, but I think the good news, and you talk about your level of consciousness, I think both the employer and the employee, both are rising to a level of consciousness. Where it goes, I think it remains to be seen. How it's measured remains to be seen. And I'm going to digress a little bit. Some companies don't want creativity.
True.
I mean, that in and of itself is a whole show, because they may want just what they asked for. No right or left of that, no embellishment of that, no creative aspects of that, no ideas. So I don't know where I'm going with it, but again, you could see my point. But bottom line, I think people deserve to want to be in a space where they feel comfortable, they feel like they can make a difference.
I think there are situations in which people reveal more than they think they do. And here's what I mean. I was going to say, before you were saying what you just did, that it seems to me that we're trying to find a balance between standardization and latitude. And when you were when you made the example that you just did, what I thought you were going to cite was open office spaces. So, there was this giant knee jerk when we thought, oh, well, cubicles aren't a really good idea, so let's have open office spaces. And then what we found was people missed their privacy very much and weren't comfortable in those environments. So I think we're trying to strike a balance, again, between that standardization and the latitude. And what I meant about revealing things we might not know we're revealing is, I think whether or not, if you're in a leadership position, or maybe more specifically in a managerial position, I think your ego, whether you know it or not, is going to play into that a lot. Because if you're somebody who's comfortable letting people know what needs to be done, but letting them accomplish that in their own ways, I think you as that leader or manager would be more comfortable. However, if you happen to be one of those people who needs to have something done one particular way because you can't imagine another way, I think some ego comes into play there, and that's where some kind of friction or discomfort results.
Yes. And that's that ego. I mean, we're in the 21st century. I'm a little holistic. Egos need to fly out the window. That's just, and
at the door.
Or checked at the door, that things, because, in my opinion, and only in my opinion, we're sort of talking about business now versus, business and employees, but if you truly, what you see in someone, as far as their talents, their expertise, the reason that you hired them, shouldn't be diminished by being in an autocratic setting.
Amen.
And I hope, and I say I hope, because I haven't been in a corporate situation, and my design work has been with either people working at home or smaller businesses, that maybe that is changing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and I mean, it would be nice for both parties, because I think it's a win-win situation. There are some people that if you give them an inch, they're going to go off and, be working from the restaurant and being with their friends, and, they figure they could get away with it, but, and some of them do. But I think that, again, I go back to the word balance, and I go back to the word a consciousness, an evolving consciousness that might make things better.
At this point, I would like to take our first commercial break. I wish we didn't have to, but we do. So we're going to take that break right now. We will be back in 3 minutes, and we'll see you then.
Everybody has a story. Everyone's story deserves to be told, and the only bad stories are the ones we don't share. That's why Mark O'Brien created The Anxious Voyage. It's Mark's conviction that every story deserves to be shared, and his purpose is to give people in all walks of life, from any circumstances, a chance to tell their stories. The Anxious Voyage is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Monday at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Time, with live broadcast every first and third Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Please tune in, please join Mark, and please share your stories.
Ever wonder what it's like to have your own radio show? Well, wonder no longer, because you can dip into the radio airwaves by being host for the day on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. It's a fabulous way to get your radio feet wet. It's an opportunity to market your business, modality, or book. have a guest, mention a sponsor, and take callers. Or you may want to facilitate a lesson by going solo. It's up to you. Listeners can be online, mobile, in cars with Bluetooth, or listen through Amazon's Echo by asking, Alexa, play Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. For more details, go to dreamvision7radio.com and click on Host for the Day.
You can't establish your brand's authority without a voice. That's why, since 2004, O'Brien Communications Group, OCG, has been helping companies establish their authority, find their brands, distinct voices, and position their brands effectively and persuasively. So effectively that 9 of OCG's clients have been acquired by other companies. OCG's business model emphasizes efficiency and results, not hourly billing, markups, and media commissions. That ensures OCG's advice is unbiased and its clients aren't at financial risk. If you're ready to find your voice and use it to tell your story, OCG is ready to help. You can find O'Brien Communications Group on the web at o'briencg.com. That's OBRIENCG.com, or call 860-944-9022.
Calling all authors. Have you been considering an audiobook? Well, look no further. Come take advantage of Dream Vision 7 Radio Network's unique in-house audiobook production, which includes benefits and bonuses from our radio station. Let our knowledgeable staff guide you to create the audiobook you've always dreamed of without breaking the bank. Check out our full one-stop service from A to Z, including the ACX process. Schedule a free consultation by calling 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to dreamvision7radio.com.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us, everyone. And especially to you, thank you for staying with me. I'm going to make an attempt to connect a few other dots here. Wish me luck.
Okay.
So at the beginning, when we were talking about RoundTable 360, and you were talking about the people from any number of different creative pursuits or disciplines, you said that we're all looking for continual improvement. That is absolutely true. I would add that all of us are also looking for continual learning. And I want to try to connect that to something you were saying in the first segment, and also something that we were talking about before we went live with Dizzy, our producer. And we talked a little bit about brands and branding. And Dizzy was making the point that you can't just abruptly change a brand and expect the previous adherence to that brand to be with you. So that leads me to say that what you have to do if you're going to evolve the brand, is to take what you've learned from its history up until the point that you're going to evolve it, and do it in a way that retains some of the connections to its, I'm going to call it most previous version. I want to connect that to the way you look at environments. And you're going to think I'm being facetious when I say, I know you do this in our home. But as you're spending time in an environment and learning things, whether it's from the environment or from the work we do, do you find it equally important to continue to evolve the environment as you would a brand?
Yes. Okay. And I like the word evolve, because one would ask the question, So if, let's say you are your own brand, by the way, meaning people know what to expect from you. We wear the same type of clothes. We listen to the same type of music. We pretty much eat, the same time. And as we mature, we might evolve and learn. Okay, so we do want to be continually improving. We do want to continually learn. And I think continually improving is much different than change. Right? Because
please say more about that. I agree with you, but I'd like to hear more.
Because that brand, there's a core there. There's an element there. Now, whether you're talking about a business, a person, a home, people know what to expect when they walk in your office or they walk in your home. But if you don't change that environment, excuse me, I don't want to use the word change, because change could mean black and white. It could mean drastic. When you improve, or I like to sometimes use the word edit. So in a design element, I use the word editing. And you could use this for branding. Take what works, take what's good for you, but don't be afraid to take what's not working, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Take the core values that work for you and then edit those to make it. And that's what I do with the home. Like you say, you might come in and things are different. Well, that might be a functional thing. It might be, you could use your desk or whatever and something's across the room. So you're continually getting it up and walking across the room. And you say, you know what, if that were a little closer to me and there's things that I don't need close to me, then I can edit that. I can change it. Or if there's a color that maybe doesn't work, or a picture that doesn't work, you're not changing the whole room. You're not throwing everything away because there's things that we're all used to. And then there's so I either use the word editing or layering. Layering can be configured as, just for view's sake, I'll use your office so that people that are viewing this can understand. If those the same books stood in there for 20 years, you wouldn't be learning, you wouldn't be creative, you wouldn't be continually improving. So that now we go back to using the word editing or layering. It's still the same you're still going to have a bookcase, but those books may be different and a little more reflective of who you are at this particular time. So I think that where we thrive and where we, create has to model what we're learning.
And to your point, folks who are watching us live or will see this video recording will see books behind me lying on top of the shelves. Well, when we first set those up, every book fit. And now, because I've continued to learn and acquire books and read other things, they don't fit anymore, which means I have to take another look at that thing. One of the other thoughts I had was about websites and evolving. And you were talking about editing. This is a little bit facetious, but when I talk to clients about their websites and about the fact that websites are extremely dynamic media, I'm constantly encouraging them or helping them to refresh their content always. And what I call that is signs of intelligent life. Because if customers or prospects especially keep coming to your website and nothing ever changes, all you're going to do is invite them to wonder, what's going on over there? I mean, are these folks still at it? Are they still vital?
Right.
Are they paying attention?
Yeah.
And so I do think that evolution is the product of learning.
Yes. And so, and in going back to RoundTable, we had everybody's office. There was one gentleman that he had nothing. It was pretty white. It's pretty plain. There were no pictures on the wall. And he said, I don't want to be distracted by anything. What's changing in the colors and what's creative is what's in my mind and going on the page. And then conversely, we had someone that their place was a mess. It wasn't a mess to them, but visually, there were stuffed animals, there were things and notes, sticky pads on the walls. There was all sorts of distraction. But he felt comfortable, like he invited all these things to be here. So he wasn't lonely when he wrote. That he, every little sticky pad on the wall and all his, little stuffed animals, ornaments, they all had a purpose and a name. Sometimes they were characters in his book. But that just shows you that he had what he needed and what he wanted at the time to be able to write.
And I find myself actually doing similar things because I have to write and do so many different things. And sometimes I can only concentrate on one particular thing for just so long.
Yeah.
So if I do something else, it almost, all I can think of is like, the spoonful of sorbet or something to cleanse my palate. Just shifting, doing something different, then I can come back to what I was trying to step away from, at least a little bit refreshed.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are the, other people like sentimental things. They have family photos or they have gifts so that when they're sitting at their desk or wherever they're working, that they're surrounded with what they symbolically might interpret as love, like those people are with them while they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. And it's just trying to figure all that out so that your environment is comfortable. And I never go, from a decorating standpoint or a design standpoint, what I tell my clients, I never go by what's in style. Like they'll go on Pinterest or House or one of those websites. And even in that's also true in office trends. They'll be very trendy and they'll say, okay, now we're going to go biophilic and we're going to have all these plants. And then, the latest color is no color or this or that. That's all fine for photos. That's all fine to sell things. But when you're actually sitting in that environment, does it make you feel your best? Does it make you feel creative? Does it make you feel comfortable? Does it make you feel studious or is it distracting? And, you go by natural elements of what you see, what you feel, what you hear, what you smell. And especially people working at home, they're distracted by, they can't have control of everything. Meaning if they're working and somebody's in the other room cooking, they're going to be distracted by the smell. So whatever they can do to keep themselves focused is a plus.
It's time for our second break. But it's also perfectly timed because I want to make a bit of a segue as we go into our third and final segment. So please stay with us. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Thank you for being here.
Okay.
Are you ready for the quantum age?
Humanity's next step in evolution?
Dream Vision 7 Radio Network invites you to the extraordinary platform of evolutionary voices for the quantum age.
Let's explore. Learn more about this upcoming age where we bridge science with spirituality.
Where potentiality meets reality.
Where we take compassion into action.
Our trailblazers and visionaries will ask the whys, the what ifs, while igniting continuous possibility.
Come along with with us into an age beyond what we know today, where we can grow together in unity consciousness.
Experience evolutionary voices for the quantum age, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern on DreamVision7Radio.com.
You can't establish your brand's authority without a voice. That's why, since 2004, O'Brien Communications Group, OCG, has been helping companies establish their authority, find their brand's distinct voices, and position their brands effectively and persuasively. So effectively that 9 of OCG's clients have been acquired by other companies. OCG's business model emphasizes efficiency and results, not hourly billing, markups, and media commissions. That ensures OCG's advice is unbiased and its clients aren't at financial risk. If you're ready to find your voice and use it to tell your story, OCG is ready to help. You can find O'Brien Communications Group on the web at o'briencg.com. That's OBRIENCG.com, or call 860-944-9022.
Calling all authors. Have you been considering an audiobook? Well, look no further. Come take advantage of Dream Vision 7 Radio Network's unique in-house audiobook production, which includes benefits and bonuses from our radio station. Let our knowledgeable staff guide you to create the audiobook you've always dreamed of without breaking the bank. Check out our full one-stop service from A to Z, including the ACX process. Schedule a free consultation by calling 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to DreamVision7Radio.com.
Everybody has a story. Everyone's story deserves to be told, and the only bad stories are the ones we don't share. That's why Mark O'Brien created The Anxious Voyage. It's Mark's conviction that every story deserves to be shared, and his purpose is to give people in all walks of life from any circumstances a chance to tell their stories. The Anxious Voyage is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 Radio Network every Monday at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Time, with live broadcast every first and third Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Please tune in, please join Mark, and please share your stories.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Hello and welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Anne, you made me think of something that I would like to read when you were talking about the books behind me. And I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to ask you a question. This is from Harry Crews, the late Harry Crews, who was a 20th century novelist, and he wrote this. And he grew up in rural southern Georgia. As far back as I could remember, I had longed and lusted for an unlimited supply of books. I was weary of the Sears catalog and the Bible, the only 2 books I had ever seen in my sharecropper's house. When I got to my first duty station in the Marine Corps and walked into the base library, it was like throwing a starving man a turkey. I did my time in the Corps with a book always in my hand. I remained convinced in my belief that all anybody needed to develop as a writer was access to a good library. That makes me wonder, Anne, if we aren't, whether we know it or not, if we aren't attracted to the elements and the environments that we need to do what we really want to do.
It's an interesting question. And I would probably answer that yes, in a way that people don't realize. I'll give you an example and I'll use myself. So if I know this sounds silly, if I'm not arranging furniture or picking out colors, one of my hobbies is gardening. Gardening ends up being, to me, a way that I can arrange plants. I could play with color. I could play with texture. It's really a 3-dimensional way for me to express myself, to get through limitations of soil and existing plants. So I think that you find that there's outlets for everyone. You know, we have a friend that is or was I'll call him a numbers guy. But if he wasn't working on spreadsheets for someone, you know, all his bills and their dinner dates and everything's on a spreadsheet. So we're kind of creatures of habit. And, you know, I think we gravitate towards things that are variations of what nourishes our soul. So if we can't, it's almost like if water comes through down a river, and if the river gets blocked, you'll find little outlets of where the water will go. And I think that what we do on the side or in our free time tends to be those things that are going to be a way for the water to flow, for our energy to flow. You know, I'll even use cooking. You know, I'm not a sports person. If you look at what I do in my free time, they're pretty much creative. So, you know, I'll go in the kitchen and I'll sort of make a dinner out of whatever's in the refrigerator. And sometimes it's a good challenge to do that. So I think that people, if they really understand themselves, will find that they're doing more of what they love, just in a different way.
I wonder if you would be willing to help people who are either with us today or who will watch this video recording understand you. You were talking earlier about plants and nature and light. And given the corner in which you're sitting, I don't think folks can get any meaningful appreciation of the environment in which you're in right now. Would you be willing to just pick up your laptop and just do a little panorama?
Sure.
And I suspect Eddie is there too somewhere. So if he sneaks in, don't worry.
Okay. Okay. I can do that.
Okay. Because I don't think anybody could have any idea of how large the space is that you're in and how absolutely correct for you it is, given everything you've been sharing.
Okay. So part of what I like to do is I don't like to throw things out. I appreciate what people have made in the past. So I kind of collect old stuff and use them in a different purpose. So as we stand up, what's behind me is, well, I keep getting, no, I got to go this way. I got to go reverse. I have a bookcase here, and it's a baker's rack, if people can see it. This is really weird, and I have some paper mache on there. And so a baker's rack turned into a bookcase. And then, as people could see, I work with a lot of windows, and it's hard to see the outside, but I think you can get a gist of exactly what kind of environment that I like to work in. So I get to see my gardens. And yeah. Is that good, Mark?
Yeah, and I just, as you're swinging by, I would point out that you have your easel over in the corner so you can paint.
Yep.
And there's the big, used to be either an armoire or an entertainment cabinet behind you that is now effectively all of your office supplies and your printer. And yeah, I just wanted people to get a sense of the fact that you've filled your space, your environment, with everything you need to be, I don't want to use just one term, so I'm going to say comfortably creative.
Yes. And I have I'm a sentimental person. So if I turn around again, I hope I'm not turning too fast. I have things that people have given me along the way. I have teddy bears that I made when I was younger, and I'm always making something.
I just got a note, Ann, from Deborah, the owner of the station. Joseph Carabas says hello to you.
Oh, thank you. Well,
Joseph Carabas is the host and creator of RoundTable 360.
yes. And any of you that are interested, it's a wonderful roundtable, and it's a variation of minds. I want to say variety of minds, excuse me, not variation, but it's a variety of minds. It's a safe place to be vocal, and we talk about different subjects and not always in agreement. And that's how we learn. If we all said yes, and Mark had brought earlier that are we all one with the system? The roundtable provides us an opportunity to be able to give our points of view and understand where our points of view come from. And we all learn from that and see things maybe in a different perspective than we did when we first, got on the show.
I'm really glad you brought that up, and I will just add to that Roundtable 360 meets the last Thursday of every month at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. And if you would like to join us, we certainly wish you would. You can please get a hold of me, or you can get a hold of Ann. And I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit, Ann, and tell people that you can find Ann's website at theartfitters.com, theartfitters.com. And you can email her at Anne, ANNE, at theartfitters.com. And we will connect you with Joseph Carabas, and we will connect you with the Roundtable 360 Facebook page, which I think you will have to ask to join, but we hope you do. The more, the merrier. And as we're sort of coming to the end, and I know this has sort of been tangentially alluded to in some of the pieces that you have in your workspace, but I think the term you use is adaptive reuse, and I think I will connect this to evolution, and I will connect it to what you were saying about not necessarily having to adapt to or adhere to trends. So I'll just say that one of the, I'll call it a philosophy. One of your philosophies is that if there is something of value to you, like that old wooden baker's rack right there next to you, that value probably can't be meaningfully replaced or superseded by something that's a new trend, which is probably going to be, at least in the immediate term, more superficial than that.
Yes.
So is there anything you'd like to share with us about that?
Yes, because when I tell my clients, when I'm done, we're not living in a photograph. I'm not living in your space. You're living in your space. So what I might like, you may not. So it's got to be comfortable. You've got to can't wait to go home feeling, or can't wait to get in your office and do stuff. And then, I do crazy stuff like this. So wait a minute, I'm not used to the camera. So this is Mark shredded paper that I've made into a bowl. And so we're finding I might end up selling these, but my point is, I love really finding use for something that would probably not be, used for anything else, or a lot of antiques. I mean, we don't have the craftsmanship or the apprenticeships that go into mastering a craft. And so it pains me when I see things get thrown away that somebody made and took a lot of time to make. And there's always, I'm trying to think offhand, and I really can't now, of something that we used for something else, or even in a client's house, I'll maybe take pieces and then we will reuse them, but in a different way or a different manner. We might make a shelf out of something, or do something different than its original use, but it's still being used, and it's unique and it's individual. And now that home has a signature. We talked about a brand, and that home or that space or that environment now has the brand of you, the person that dwells in it.
I read something recently. A lot of the companies that I work with sell software and services to the insurance industry. And I read somewhere recently that many insurance companies replaced their software after having only used somewhere between 10 to 15% of the capabilities of the software they have. So the term that gets applied in situations when they decide to replace it is rip and replace. And rip and replace is positively not your style, because there are so many things, again, of value and craftsmanship. And I actually thought you were going to say energy too, because I think, especially in some of those bigger pieces, like where you have all your office stuff and the other cabinet on the wall where your art supplies are, those things are old, and they clearly possess an energy that something new is not going to have. And at least in my estimation, something new is going to feel, until it's acquired that history and that energy, it's going to feel sterile
and cold and nondescript and cookie cutter.
Yeah, there you go. Cookie cutter. I like that. We are unfortunately at the end of the program. I wish we weren't. I was grateful when you came on the show for the first time. When you came on the show for the second time, I was even more grateful. And I think maybe because of the second one, I was absolutely positive that today, your third visit, there was no way in the world we were going to run out of things to talk about. So it may not be over.
Okay, I'm a Gabby person.
All right. Well, and that's a good thing. And thank you. And just before we go, is Eddie there?
Yes.
Could Eddie just do a quick cameo?
Yes, he works with me.
Eddie's part of the energy of our whole thing here. And if Ann's not home, Eddie comes upstairs and slums with me.
Yeah.
So he's the man.
He's a great assistant.
Ann, thank you. And to everyone who joined us today, thank you as well. I will be back 2 weeks from today with another show. Hope to see you then. Take care.
Thanks for having me on the show. Take care, everyone.
Thank you for tuning into The Anxious Voyage, the program dedicated to sharing stories, helping people, and celebrating life. You can see and listen to The Anxious Voyage on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Monday at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Time, with live broadcast every first and third Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you have a story to tell, or if you know someone who does, please email the host, Mark O'Brien, at mark@o'briencg.com. In the meantime, please remember, the only bad stories are the ones we don't share.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.